the success that we've been having is a byproduct of my approach.
Thank you to our sponsors of the Inside Story Hunters podcast. A big shout out to Chad Hill of Term Provider, home of Big Lou, Tiffany Wondros, CNR Services, Michael Valletta of Quick Cuts Media. Don't forget to subscribe at youtube.com, where you can follow our weekly episodes and get an automatic link to listen to our next guest sharing a part of their incredible inside story. So subscribe or listen on any podcast channel to your Inside Story Hunters podcast. Thanks for following us. Thanks for supporting us. Hello, Insiders. It's me again, Laurie, with the story, getting ready to capture an incredible story here in Crestview, Florida. Valerie, the owner of Panhandle Insurance, she is going to share the story of how she had an amazing boss who believed in her, encouraged her, taught her lots of what she knows about the insurance business, personal lines, your homeowners, your auto, and so forth. And then one day he said, hey, I think I'm going to make a change. I think I'm going to sell this agency, and I think you should buy it. And I don't want to steal their thunder. They're going to tell the story. But when you listen to an individual who's a mom, a wife, a friend, a business owner now, and she'll tell you it was the scariest thing she did just over a year ago, yet she really believes that this was her calling. God put her on this earth to help support people when they're buying a home, when they're raising families, and all the things that we do to ensure and protect our personal property, to protect ourselves from a liability standpoint, and so forth. So again, they know how to tell the story about insurance, but I'm here to just highlight and brag on some amazing inside stories that would go otherwise unveiled. And the Inside Story Hunters, you know that we're always looking for it. We're hunting, we're looking. We want to capture the stories of the people that feel what they have to say or their story is not important. And I believe that you'll enjoy it just as much as I did the very first time I met Valerie. And then Valerie, Big Lou Life Insurance, got to give a big shout out to Big Lou, is now a strategic partner, and as we provide life insurance and ensure our most precious gift, which is the opportunity to wake up today and to have life, that we can walk alongside Panhandle Insurance and be able to provide their clients, their insureds, their customers with life insurance, and really build a strategic relationship professionally and personally. And I adore Valerie and Mike. So hang on, and here we go. All right, Insiders, here we are. We're sitting next to Valerie and Mike. They're going to tell you the most amazing story. I put a lot of pressure on them and told them it better be great. And Mike said, no problem. He's amazing. So, but truly, I'm so honored that you're both here with us. And I welcome you to start by, just unveiling the story of how did you become an insurance broker? One day you weren't, and the next day you were. Thank you to Mike.
Yeah, exactly. So I started with State Farm back in 2010. I was in between jobs, didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I found a receptionist job at State Farm in Destin. And from there, I really, about a year in, I started to really find my love and passion for it and see the gifts that I have as far as customer service and how I was able to help people. And then, fast forward 4 years, I have my first daughter, and it was a pretty natural time for me just to step away, take a break. I learned through working with a captive agency like that I was held a little bound to the corporate rules, and I wasn't able to help people in the way that I wanted to help people. So I wasn't sure that after I did go back to work that was what I wanted to do. I wasn't even sure that insurance was it for me anymore.
So you were questioning it.
Yeah, so I actually came to work for this building that we're in right now, Main Street Suites, and it was a couple years later. A man walks in one day and says he's starting his own insurance agency and leaving Farm Bureau, as similarly as, I left State Farm to start his own agency. And then...
Were you helping him get an office?
No.
Or?
Well, yeah, helping him get an office, but I wasn't helping him as part of the agency. I was helping him only in the context of, a landlord or, office help like that. But shortly after, it became pretty apparent that he needed some customer service. He needed some help on the agency side, and so I did both for a long time.
Wow,
and
great.
I'll let you tell your part of up to that point.
Well, I started about eight years prior to the transition with Farm Bureau. And what I didn't like, Farm Bureau is a great insurance company, don't get me wrong. But as an agent, it's kind of like the way Valerie described. It's all about the numbers.
That's right. And you're in the box. Wouldn't that be fair to say? Like,
Yeah,
it's
you
got
are.
to fit in their underwriting,
Absolutely.
That's right.
that's it.
Yeah.
There's no outside the walls.
Well, the options are limited. So if I have a client come in, I'm very limited on what I can offer.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm held to these very high standards as far as production. And so what you're going to find, a lot of people when they go to these big box insurance companies, they're going to be sold on that company.
Right.
It's not really going to be in the best interest of the insured or the client, and most of the time. I decided to leave that environment, and I looked at all the big box franchise companies. They're all the same. That's all they really care about is numbers at the end of the day. So I decided to start my own agency, and when I did, things really took off. I think the big driving factor is not so much being held accountable for numbers. Don't get me wrong; it has to do with the people.
Yes.
Because if it's my mom, I try to treat every client like they're my mom.
Right.
So if my mom walks in, I want her to get the best advice she needs for her situation. Everybody's situation is different. They can be similar, but they're going to be different. The big box companies don't address that need at all. So I wanted to be independent. I have a lot more options for people.
A lot of resources.
Yeah, we have a lot more companies, and when people walk through the door, I'm not trying to sell them anything. I try to educate them on the insurance process. I want to find out what their needs are, so I may have to ask them some questions, and we try to find the best place for them to be. And if we don't have that, we tell them where to go because we're familiar with other agencies that may have some options we don't.
Absolutely.
That's,
Keep really great relationships with the other agencies in town, and we try to just lean on each other. In fact, I called another one yesterday to see if they had a product that I didn't have for a client, and it was just a tough one. It's really tough times right now, and we all are, I think, doing pretty good about maintaining really good professional relationships.
Absolutely. You wouldn't know this, but my father's a retired Allstate agent. And things have changed, you know, right?
Yeah.
So he's been retired many years as he's about to be 88 years old. So, and I once was a insurance agent myself. I had a property and casualty license, chose to focus on the commercial side. But I woke up, and the number one reason I got out of the insurance business was because of the fear of I didn't endorse a policy right, or insurance company, the demands. People don't recognize that you as an agent are helping navigate and guide, and God forbid you make the mistake. Yes, we have the E&O insurance and all that, but I had a conscience, right? And that's what you have. And not to say that the
other people
don't, but I think that's what makes it unique for the two of you. And wouldn't you say that's what formed your bond, your relationship?
Absolutely.
How you became so close?
Right.
Yeah,
that's absolutely right.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, he had a very similar approach to client relations as I did. Looking at it as not a sale. Like one thing he taught me from the very beginning is we don't need to make the sale. We're going to be fine. Just, either way, we need to do right by the customer. We need to be able to go home, lay our heads down at night, know that we did a good job, and we didn't have to blow over anybody to in order to do it.
Yes.
We can do so with integrity.
Absolutely.
So that was the foundation of it, and I didn't want to have to sell anything that I didn't feel passionate about.
And did you tell me you don't want to sell?
No, I'm not a salesperson at all. That was probably one of the biggest complaints I got from my previous boss at State Farm was that I'm not going to approach people about things that they don't want or need. Like, I'm not here to convince somebody. I'm here to present something that might have value to you. And if it does, I would love to help you through it. But otherwise, have a good day. Like, I'm glad to meet you. Like, it's always about what is. I want every customer to just walk away from our interaction feeling like, for one, I cared. They weren't just another number to me. They weren't just another sale or transaction, but for one, that I care. And two, that, that they feel comfortable with what they got, and that they didn't feel compromised through the process.
Once you put the business owner hat on, do you think that it forced you to have to start to look differently at that approach? Because bills got to get paid, the lights got to go on, jobs that you created, and right?
Yeah, I've had
people in your life that have been able to now come work for you full time.
Yeah,
right?
It's been really neat. Yeah, there has been some definite evolution to the agency in the last year, but ultimately, no, I feel like the success that we've been having is a byproduct of my approach. I haven't had to shift my focus or my mindset, at least not yet, because
I hope you never do.
No, I don't. I hope I don't. You know, because it's working. Like, well, I'm not going to go fix something that's not broken. What we're doing seems to be working, and people seem to be finding us from places I didn't know were referring to us, because they're having a good experience and they felt cared for and listened to. So no, I don't think that my approach to that has changed. I have 2 little girls I need to go home and look in the eye at the end of the day, and I want them to know that their mama's got integrity, and is not just looking to pay the bills. That'll happen. Taking care of people is the number one priority.
And Mike, obviously you saw that in Valerie. As a business owner, for you to approach her or to turn around, well, she became a part of your team. How did that happen from your perspective? Take us through that experience.
Well, I needed the help. You said that you were in insurance and sales, so there's a lot of maintenance work. There's really a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes.
Right.
And I'm not that techie of a person. I mean, I can turn a computer on and off, but Valerie's fantastic with it. So she was a great help there as well. And it was just a great opportunity for her to step in part-time. And it was ideal for me because, as you know, when you're starting off, you're not bringing in a lot of income. So it worked out well. We both had the same mindset, the same philosophy, and how we want to treat people. So it was a natural fit. And the agency just took off. It really did well. So it was a blessing. Yeah.
But somebody owned the building before you. You now own Main Street Suites, correct?
Yeah.
The shared concept. This incredibly adorable location in downtown Crestview. It's really magical. And even when you walk in, you feel it's very homey.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful what you've done. But before you owned it, how did that get approved for her to do half of work for you and then half of the work for the building? That's super rare.
So rare. And just all the stars that had to align for this to work out the way that it did was, we've always called it like a God thing. And so the previous owner, we approached him about it and asked him if he'd be okay with that. And he is somebody who's also an entrepreneur and always has a million irons in the fire as far as rentals and his IT company and, working for different city establishments and things. So he appreciated, for one, that we came to him and didn't just try to, underhand do that. That just wasn't in our Constitution, but also that I wanted to hustle, that I wanted to have a side gig that would help support me and my family. That's what he wanted. He wanted to keep me happy. He wanted I was an asset to his company as well. He saw an opportunity in me to have personal growth as well as professional growth.
It's so beautiful because it's deja vu for me, coming from, I launched my own company, The Inside Story, the virtual assistant organization, as a result of working for Regis, one of the very large worldwide shared space concepts, right? But I will tell you that my employers didn't respond the same way that, your previous building owner did. They did it first because they just thought, good for you, right? But 30 days later, after I really stepped out on my own and people wanted to have the support services, the short story bringing that up was the fact that this is what we talk about. I'll say the local hometown, the doing business with your community rather than working with the big companies. Isn't that almost like a common denominator in this discussion?
Absolutely.
Not to dismiss Allstate, State Farm, Farm Bureau,
but
the local business owner, the property owner, all of it. Look what happens.
Oh yeah. Whenever you have a small business, you get to kind of make the rules. You get to design how your business operates and runs and what is okay inside of that realm and what's not. And having that freedom, I'm so thankful that I was allowed that freedom, because ultimately that was what ended up changing the entire course of my life.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to use that as a segue into what triggered you stepping away from owning the insurance agency and Valerie becoming an owner, because that's a very sensitive, important part of the inside story.
Yes, yeah, and it can be a long story, and I'll try to keep that short. But kind of like the previous owner of Main Street Suites, I've always had that entrepreneurial mind, and I'm always trying to figure out different ways to do things. So I've got a lot of irons in the fire. So I had the agency, I had a couple of adjusting contracts, and then I wanted to own some commercial real estate as well. So I got involved with this. But it's just a lot on me, and I did that. I probably worked 7 days a week, 14-hour days for, I don't know what,
5 years.
5 years. Ended up having a small heart attack, and just the stress.
Just a small one.
Yeah. So I had to reevaluate and
Wow.
and make some adjustments. And part of that adjustment was I decided the insurance company was something, or insurance agency is something I was going to have to transition. And I had some offers from other agencies, and that was the easy answer. I could make a quick buck, move on, but I knew it wasn't the right answer. I knew that Valerie had the potential to own and run this agency, and that our clients would maintain the same type of treatment that they've had, and that it could possibly change Valerie's family's life and have an impact there. Because I'm all about mentorship and making investments in people. Really, it's the only legacy we leave. Money comes and goes.
Yes.
You can't take it with you, but a true legacy is investment in other people.
Yes, sir.
And as a young person, I came from a poor family with not much opportunity. I didn't know how to go to college. I didn't know you could go to college unless you paid for it. It took me 9 years to work my way through it. But as I can, I'll back up a little bit. I started out in law enforcement because they were willing to pay for my college. I spent 18 years there because I was kind of stuck in a rut, and I didn't know anything other than government employment. Didn't like it because the motto was less is more. And I've never liked that motto. The thing is we're here to do a job. Let's do the job. And so I've never been comfortable in that environment. So I had to get out of government
18 years,
service.
thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So I got into pharmaceutical sales. And the reason why I got into pharmaceutical sales, well, it took me 2 years for somebody to give me an opportunity. And that's what it's about. That's what we're talking about here today, is I threw out hundreds of resumes. I can't tell you how many interviews I went to, but finally I met somebody one day who said, Mike, now I remember the conversation. He said, Mike, he said, I've got people with years of experience that are going to be sitting in that seat today interviewing for this job. Why should I give it to you? And I said, look, everybody's in sales. I'm in law enforcement, so I'm in sales every day. I said, I don't actually sell a product, but I have to sell a concept to people that aren't really open to those concepts. And I said, it's no different. It's really no different. I said, really what I need is for somebody to give me the opportunity to prove what I'm telling you. And he gave me that opportunity. And I can go on and talk about other opportunities I've had, but it's always because somebody's given me the opportunity. I've had to ask for it. Don't always get it. But once you get that opportunity, you have to prove yourself. You have to work hard and do it. And not many people get those opportunities. I've been blessed to have several of those, and I've seen some success for my family because of that. And I saw in Valerie what I don't think she necessarily saw at the time. But
you've always believed in me way more than I could have ever believed in myself.
Well, that's because I've been in your shoes.
Yeah.
Really. And I saw me, I won't say how many years back, but I saw me. Yeah, 2 years.
Exactly. Like
maybe 2 years, maybe 2 decades.
Yeah.
But I saw me, and I knew that you had the tools, you had the drive, you had the knowledge, you had the ability, and it was a great opportunity for you. Now that transition took some time. If I were to sell, we would have been done in 30 days. But by going through this transition, we had to get some licensing in place. We had to,
I had to get my business structured. I had none of that. But I ended up, the license that you have to get in order to become an agency owner it's called a 220. You know about their 220. So I previously at State Farm, I'd taken that test, I think 3 or 4 times. And I am dyslexic. I am a terrible, anxious test taker. So it was the big bad for me. I couldn't get past this test. And so whenever he came to me with this idea, I said, oh my gosh, I will have to do that. And I desperately didn't want to, because it's, the fear of failure and, the fear of rejection and so much writing on it. I felt like for him and for me. And so that was in late September, early October.
Probably.
Yeah. And I had passed my test December 1st. And then by the 14th, I had my business license. I had everything set up there, and the transition officially happened February 1st will be a year.
Of 2021.
Of 2022.
Yeah. So it's almost been a year.
Literally. Amazing.
So yeah.
Amazing. And you passed the test.
I did. First try.
Yeah.
You could have let that be the factor that stopped you.
I almost did.
I bet.
To be completely honest with you, I almost did. I almost let the fear take over. And of course, retrospectively, looking back now, everything is always clear. I'm so glad I didn't let my fear win. I would have missed out on so much. I would have missed out on absolutely so much.
I wouldn't have let you quit.
I know you wouldn't have, but it was, because going through this transition has really taught me, like, I can do the hard thing. That will not bring me down. Like my perseverance was tested through this, and, my self-worth is as healthy as it's ever been right now. This has given me a sense of fulfillment that I absolutely could not have ever foreseen happening. But yeah, it's changed everything. It's absolutely incredible. If you'd have told me 5 years ago that I was going to be an owner of an insurance agency, I would have laughed you out of my office. But
what would you tell yourself 5 years ago if you could walk that Valerie into the room right now?
Believe in yourself, Yeah. What would you say to yourself?
Well, I've got a little different perspective. It's
sure.
When I left law enforcement, because everybody at the agency knew I was leaving, and I finally turned in my resignation because I was going into pharmaceutical sales. I was scared to death, by the way, because it's completely foreign to what I had been doing for 18 years. Almost everybody I worked with said, Mike, I wish I could do what you're doing. And I'm like, you can. You
make a decision.
You just have to take a step. You have to commit to it. And every one of them, 100%, stayed in law enforcement. Every one of them are retired now, and that's fine. I'm happy for them. It's a great career, and they may have made a good choice. But the message that always stays with me is that the majority of people, even if they're provided an opportunity, which most don't get opportunities, you got to ask for it. You got to be looking.
Yes.
It doesn't just fall in your lap. So when you get an opportunity, you have to be willing to step forward, no matter how afraid you are. It's like you. I'm just so proud of you for taking that test and moving forward, because I know your fear. I had it, and trust me, I overlooked opportunities earlier in my life because I was afraid. So I'm so glad I took that step when I did. I was no longer afraid after that. I've done so many things since then because of that, and the fact that so many people were unwilling to take that step gives me even more courage. And that's fine for their path. But the message I give to young people, I've talked to the high schools, kids, I've talked to kids at church, anybody that'll listen, is opportunity doesn't come along often. When it comes, step through the door. Life is short. You've got nothing to lose. The American dream is about opportunity. That's what makes us so different from everybody else in the world.
That's right.
So you've got to be willing to stay. It doesn't matter how afraid you are. It's okay to be afraid.
But the fear is really the false evidence appearing real. But the fear is like, I tell my youngest son, or anxiety, or whatever the word might be, that's the insecurity. I'm like, that's your superpower. That's when you take that energy and you, to your point, walk through the door. Just move forward.
If you think about it, bravery is, you're not brave unless you do something that you're scared of.
Yes.
Right.
It's unless you're scared of it, doing that action is not brave.
Right.
And I tell my 7-year-old that all the time, just to be brave and do the hard things scared.
Look at the example you've set for her.
Yeah.
Look at the gift that you've done. Her family, I have to assume, has transformed. And the next generations, and the daughter gets to say, my
Yeah.
mom was a business owner, or is a business owner,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
The only real legacy you have in this world is not money. Money comes and goes.
Mhm.
Investing in people.
Yes.
It's multi-generational. It has effects, because I'm sure she'll pass it forward. She'll do it for other people.
Absolutely.
Give them
Already are,
opportunities for
right?
different things.
You
Yeah,
see her
absolutely.
growing and hiring people.
Yeah.
And my famous question that I ask every guest on the Insiders or in the Inside Story Hunters podcast is, okay, may you both live to be 300 years old. Okay, that's my wish for you. But when the time comes and you're no longer physically present with us, how do you want to be remembered? What's your footprint? And, what does that look like for each of you?
Do you want to answer first?
Ooh, go ahead. I have to think about that a little
Okay.
bit.
I would say just that I was caring and that I was kind. And, I don't care if people think I was the smartest person in the room. That doesn't, or the richest person in the room or anything. Like, I want to be remembered as a kind, caring person who led my life through love, not through any other motive other than just with love. Like that. My dad passed away 5 years ago. And that is what I feel like his legacy was to me, was love. We never left a room, the house. We never woke up or went to bed without saying, I love you. Never got off the phone. It was, I love you. I love you. His legacy was love. And I feel such an immense responsibility to keep passing down that legacy of love. Because it was passed down from him, to him from his parents.
Isn't it interesting that you should become the agency owner in February? I mean, most people, when I think February, what do we think about?
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Love.
Yeah.
So it's kind of perfect
That
that it should be
is.
right around that time.
Yeah.
That you should become an owner. And that word, this is the most important word, I think, that, we can take it with us in our last breath.
Absolutely.
Love. We can give it, well,
Right.
even if we can't speak something, but it is, I think that's what we get to carry on and stay with us.
That's what we all hope, is that we'll be surrounded by your children and the people that love you the most, and those final, those final moments of your life. That's literally all you can hope for, is that you're not some miserable alone person, but got a stack of cash in the bank. It's like that doesn't matter.
No.
It just doesn't.
So
Well,
we had time.
Yeah.
So tell us.
Yeah.
TikTok.
No pressure.
Yeah,
But again,
no
it better
pressure.
be great. No.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be. Well, I've actually thought about that quite a bit, and I don't know why. I've always been kind of geared that way. I love ancestry. I love history, and I often think about, how did I get here? I mean, I know my grandfather's people came over from Germany through New Orleans back turn of the century, 1900s, and I know the Connells came back and the Goggins came over in the 1600s from Ireland. But I don't know those people. I know I've got an ancestor that fought in the Revolutionary War, got wounded 3 times, and Battle of Kings Mountain, and he was only 19 years old. That was the 3rd time he got wounded. And I thought,
Boy, do you know your history.
yeah,
I love this.
well, a lot of us in our family love history, and so I think about that. How did I get where I am, and the opportunities I have? What did they have to go through for me to end up where I am? And some people think that's silly, but it's the way I'm wired. So I think about those things, and what do I want to leave behind? And we don't have to look far in the world at this day and time to think things seem a little crazy. And every generation has said that. I remember my parents saying that, my grandparents saying that. But I can't change the world. I can't change what's going on in Ukraine. I can't change the tensions over in China and Japan. I can't change the California wildfires. I can't change those things. But I can have an effect on the people around me. And that's the legacy I can leave. And, 3, 4 generations from now, nobody's going to know me. They're not going to remember me.
Maybe.
I'll be great-grandpa, or, oh, he loved to go hunting and fishing, and he took us to the camping or something like that. That's what they'll remember. But what I need to do is influence the people I can and have a positive impact on their lives. And for the next couple generations, they may remember that fondly. But what really matters, it's not whether they remember me or not. It's that positive impact I had, and that continues. That's the only way we're going to change this world.
Both of you. Thank you. And, for being life changers, life influencers, life savers, and it's just, and you work on God's payroll.
Right.
And I feel fortunate to, and we got to give a shout out to Albert
Yes.
from Mortgage
Yeah.
Apex. Woo-hoo,
Yes.
he's amazing.
Just
He's
talked
one
to
who
him. I've
brought us
talked to him like
together.
2 or 3 times already today.
No,
He's so good.
He and his team
love
and
them.
Aaron and the rest of them.
Yeah.
You know, a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Insurance. You just, a Big Lou and
Yeah,
life
it's a
insurance.
service.
It's a
Gotta
service.
have it.
but-
Gotta have it. Yeah.
But the relationships
Yes.
and the intimacy that can be developed because we lead from a different place.
Mhm.
And if you are someone who's held accountable, and being fellow God workers and working on God's payroll, the pressure lives within us, right?
Mhm.
Right. That's right.
Because we wake up and we simply say, I have to do more, right? I mean, 2022, my word, I always pick a word for the year, was forward, like moving forward. And boy, I did a lot of forward, moving forward, lots of things. But 2023 is about embrace, like embracing the opportunity. I have an old boss who used to say, preparation meets opportunity.
That's right.
Opportunities don't just show up. It's because you were prepared. Otherwise, it won't match.
That's
The
so
chemistry,
funny.
it's not
Yeah.
there. It
Embrace
doesn't
was my word
happen.
last year.
It was
It was,
amazing.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
But it's so beautifully said what you did. And insiders, I hope you watch this episode from a place of there's important things.
Mhm.
Main Street Suites. I know I'm not supposed to say, but I'm doing it anyway. They're potentially growing and
Yeah.
expanding because they've outgrown this
Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
Whether
On a
that
waiting
happens or
list,
not,
yeah.
a waiting list.
Mhm.
But a young lady working part-time, working in the business, in the building,
Yeah.
then becomes an employee to you
Yeah.
that helps you do the things that's a support role, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
admin work, adding minutes to people's lives. You
Right.
changed Mike's life, you grew his company, and then it became yours.
Yep.
I mean,
It's
it's
wild.
that is just what life should be about.
Mhm.
That every step of the way, whatever we're doing, that we're moving it in the right direction.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And that,
Exactly.
within the matter of, 30, 40 days, he went from being my boss to my landlord.
Well, that's right, because you bought the building.
Right,
Yes.
that's right.
That
Yeah,
part.
yep.
Yeah.
So, yep, it's, I think that they even pushed back the sale of the business just so that I could have my first rent check go to the old owner. and then it got pushed back, and then my second one, and there on out is Ben and Mike. So
Isn't
yeah,
that
that's so
so
funny.
But I mean, it's spectacular.
It is.
Yeah.
If I'm the only person who thinks your story is just absolutely unbelievable, I just
No,
love
it really
you
is.
know?
It's
It is.
it's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
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 And in personal lines, right? Your focus is on the auto and the
Yep.
homeowners and so forth.
Yeah.
The life insurance isn't really a primary focus, but we'll start to wrap it up. But why personal lines? Having a retired Allstate agent for a father, and
Mhm.
he's personal lines was his thing. That's what he called to him. Why? Why was that for you?
Well, for me, it's twofold. One, it's bread and butter. It's your neighbors. It's everybody around here. Everybody needs it. I shied away from some of the commercial at first because, as you know, just like you said, it can be so complicated,
Mm.
Yes.
and I was afraid to make a mistake. And yes, we have E&O insurance to cover those needs, but you don't want to have to use that.
Oh no.
I want to be an expert
Yes.
in my area.
Mhm.
So I know the information I'm giving these clients is the right answer, and it's going to put them in a great position. And I'm not out there trying to make a commission off of something just because I put it on paper.
That's right.
I see that all the time because
Mhm.
I also do the adjusting side.
Mhm.
So you see where an agent put a policy in place that doesn't provide very good coverage
Yes.
for the insured. I didn't want to be that person.
Right.
So it took a while, and I started doing some commercial, but very limited. I didn't want to do the large commercial just because of that. You can't be an expert in everything. If you go to some agencies,
Exactly.
they're going to be an expert in workman's comp, which is very complicated. They're going to be an expert in commercial. They're going to be an expert in everything.
Yeah.
Chances are they're not.
Well, what's the old expression? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
well
and how
worded,
many
yeah.
people are really that exception? It's not even about people. It's just that approach.
Right.
Right.
You're just that focus.
Mhm.
It's the
Right.
personal lines. I think it starts with the first word. It's personal.
Right.
Right.
And you're personal.
Yeah,
You're
and-
personable
yeah.
people.
And for whatever reason, like, I just had a proclivity to it. That just was what I was exposed to in my infancy in the industry, and what latched onto me, and I latched onto it, and it just made sense. For a lot of people, it is so confusing, and they just cannot understand a homeowner's policy or an auto policy to save their life. And that is perfectly fine, because I understand that they are going to have a strength in another area that I don't have. And so it really does, the focus shifts to be all about teamwork and having good partners that are experts in a different area that is not yours.
Right.
To know that you're sending somebody off into good hands,
Yes.
Not somebody that just spends 25% of their attention on something, to pay the bills. Like, I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for my clients.
Oh, and it's just the power of
Yeah.
knowing, homeowners insurance, especially in the state of Florida.
Oof.
Which is super fun.
Yes.
So let me bow to you,
fun.
right?
Yeah.
Because of all the, unfortunately, the losses. And I
Right.
really feel for the insurance companies
Yeah.
from that perspective. But again, it's, the homeowner, home, a place for the family or an individual, the pets, all of it. It's
Yeah.
just, it's personal.
Absolutely. And the challenges that we're facing right now in the industry are really so much more nuanced and complex than I think the general population realizes. I mean, as they should. I mean, it's obviously an industry thing that, I have a vested interest in. So it is up to me to stay on top of things and stay up to date with what's happening and understand the inner workings of how we got to be in this place.
Yes.
So I really like to educate my clients, about that. If they want to know, I will talk their ear off about how exactly it is that we got to this place, because it honestly was like a perfect storm. It wasn't just a busy storm season or companies being greedy and wanting more or too many claims. It was a culmination of all of those factors, so to speak,
Yes.
plus so much.
Mm-hmm.
And, people come to me all the time and say, this is the first time I'm buying a house. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, great. I love a blank slate,
Mhm.
just not having any context to work with is literally just as valuable as having all of it.
Oh, so buying a home this past year, and the A team, I just didn't know you then, right? But an amazing agent and agency in it. But it was just like God planted all the right people.
Yeah,
It was the
absolutely.
first time in my life that I was so cared for in such a huge transaction. I never bought a home by myself.
Yeah.
I've
Right.
been a homeowner, but by myself, and having the people around me proactively educate me without having to ask is just it's a game changer. It's a life changer. That you feel safe
And
making huge-
empowered.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a huge thing is feeling empowered through this huge transaction.
Right.
Well, you feel like somebody's on your side. They actually have your back.
Exactly.
They're
And
not
they
just trying to say
pushed me.
something.
They moved me forward.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
were like, so we hit a wall, whatever. We keep going. It was Albert and Mortgage Apex and,
Yeah.
Tom and Beth from Keller Williams. And I mean, these are incredible human beings. But to your, it's being able to know also on the other end of a phone, more than an email. It's that interaction. It's that personal interaction, and it's just sitting with you. I hope there are a lot of people that will get to know you, reach out to you. And what's your website? What's the best way to connect with the two of you, or put a voice to the things that are important for us to capture for the insiders?
So our website is panhandleinsuranceagency.com. Phone number here at the office is 850-610-1857. And we're just right across the street from the Crestview Courthouse. So literally right across the street. We could throw a stone there.
And Main Street Suites.
Yes.
If they want to get on the waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly rent when the expansion goes into place. Go ahead and kick me under the table. But
No.
how do you learn more about Main Street Suites? Or
So
come
that
visit?
is,
Give them the number.
mymainstreetsuites.com, and the number there is 850-634-2550. I had to dig into the archive for that one. That one's been a minute since I've had to give that one out, but
Neat.
yeah,
Wow.
no, but I remember it.
That's it. And is with all the fires in that you have going on, or the irons in the fire, is there something else that you want to put a voice to? I mean, because we know you're a very busy man. So
No, the big thing I've got going on right now is trying to work through the preliminary investigation of expanding this building. because there is a big need here. We have a lot of requests for office space. So.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I mean, people are moving here, like
Yeah.
it or not,
Oh yeah.
in the droves, this. And
Mhm.
and Crestview, I understand, was the town that people would be like, why would I live in Crestview?
Oh,
I mean, what's in Crestview?
Yeah, we bought our house up here in 2011, and it was like, oh, you're moving way up there. Why? It's like,
Yeah.
why would you want to move to Crestview? And now, Crestview's grown so much. Yeah, I think people get it now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think they get it.
And being 29 miles away from Destin, and from the beautiful beaches and the
Mhm.
Emerald Coast, why not, right?
You get a lot more for your money.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind the crowds and living close to the beach,
Yeah.
that's fine. You're going to pay for it, but you'll get
Sure.
something a lot older for a lot
Yes.
more money.
Mhm.
If you like a little elbow room and a little country feel, you're in a great place up here.
Absolutely. Well,
Mhm.
thank you both for being here
Thank
today.
you.
And it's been an honor to help unveil your important inside stories.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Insiders, don't forget, click below, follow us, subscribe to the Inside Story Hunters, and make sure that you connect with these amazing people that are supporting for all the different things they just shared. So
Thank you
bye
so
for
much,
now.
Laura.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.